You and I were talking about this story yesterday, and I was out of my mind.
So much so.
Horrific crime. A 52-year-old Jose Luis Mendoza Gonzalez. He's been charged with concealing the death of Megan Boss, who had been missing for more than a month. She's an Antioch woman. He lives in Waukegan. And her body was found in a backyard container. So he's messing with the corpse, and there's all sorts of charges against him. But he's out on bond. Well, we don't have bond. He's out because of the Safety Act.
Wow.
So I had a number of questions, and I called the Waukegan Police Department. And, of course, Scott Chastain picked up the phone, and he joins us now live on our Turnkey.pro answer line. Good morning, Deputy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So tell us, how are you aware what led you to Jose Luis Mendoza Gonzalez?
So the family reported Megan missing from Antioch, Illinois, and they began their investigation. And through their investigation, they developed the lead that the last person they felt was in contact with her was him. So through some checking, they found that he had a job in Waukegan. They came here to speak with him, and then when they got there, they realized he didn't speak English. So they contacted us, which they had been contacting us a lot anyways because she frequented Waukegan a lot. And so we sent an officer over there who speaks Spanish, who was a former detective, who's one of our current canine officers, who has very good interview skills, and then he went and assisted him.
So so did he confess to the crime right there and then?
No, not necessarily, but he did. As they kept continuing to question him, he made a awkward statement that he didn't want to get arrested and go to jail right from his business, which then kind of, lights turn on, right? I mean, that's one of those where you're going to go somewhere important. So they moved the interview to the police department so he would be away from his coworkers, and so they'd have a little more privacy and they can get into more detail. As soon as he got to the station, he basically confessed to what happened.
And what did he tell you happened?
Wow.
So when he was talking to the officers, he had stated that, she had come over for a visit. She would visit from time to time with him. And while she was there, she asked if she could hang out in his basement. I believe it was late at night. He said, yeah, he went to go check on what he says was a leaky pipe or something. And when he came back downstairs, he had found she had overdosed and died. He said previously before that he saw her snorting some kind of substance. He wasn't sure what it was. He says he doesn't do drugs, so he didn't know. And then when he came down, he claimed that she had already overdosed and passed.
Wow.
And this is the grotesque part of it. How long was she in his basement before he decided to try and dispose of her body?
He says a few days, so anywhere from, 2 or 3 days.
And then what did he do?
So then they had a garbage can in the back of their yard that they weren't using. So it was empty. So then he had moved her into that can, and then and it's like a large residential, container. He moved her into the back of that, and then threw a blanket over her inside there, and then closed it.
Well, when you say was he living there with someone? Was he married?
No, I mean, I say it's people that live there. They had nothing to do with the incident itself, but from my understanding, there was 4 or 5 people that all share that residence.
And did all 4 or 5 of those people help take the body from the basement to the garbage can?
No. So according to all the witnesses, people that live there and him, that they knew nothing of it. He said he did it himself.
So the surprising and shocking part of this, well, first of all, there's a number of things that...
A lot.
He's a free man because
right now,
we don't have the Safety
court.
Act. So what, I mean, does he have any priors? I cannot wrap my head around that you could take... why he didn't call police right away or 911 when he discovered her knocked out is one issue. But then he's out because of the Safety Act?
Right. So the offenses that he was charged with are all Class 4 felonies, which is the lower end of the felony spectrum, and none of them are detainable under the Act. So we did get him to go to first appearance court, and then they did go in front of a judge. However, because they were non-detainable, they released him pending his next court date.
When's his next court date?
I believe it's May 8th.
don't you think he might be a flight risk? I mean, because I'm hearing on social media and everywhere that he is here illegally. And do you know anything about that?
No, so with the Trust Act in Illinois, we don't get into anything that has to do with immigration. We're mandated not to. So that's something that we did not investigate or look into whatsoever because of that act. Otherwise, we put ourselves in trouble for doing that. So that's not something that we looked into. I couldn't tell you if that's true or not. I heard the rumor myself, but again, we have nothing on our end to substantiate that. And as far as criminal history, we had no criminal history for him on our end.
Because he might be.
Well, how long has he been a Waukegan resident?
That I'm not sure.
What were the actual charges that he was charged with again?
So he was charged with 2 counts of concealment of a death. I think one had to do with the actual concealment, and one had to do with actually like moving the body, but it's under the same statute.
So felony then.
Corpse. I'm sorry?
So that's a felony though, correct?
Class 4.
Yeah, they're all class 4s.
Yeah.
There was a total of 4 counts: 2 concealment, 1 abuse of a corpse, and 1 obstructing justice.
So I take it it's still under investigation. You guys are still trying to get the murder charge. Is that what's happening going on right now? Are you guys at that part of the investigation?
Well, I'm not, unless something comes back from the coroner's office that shows murder, there wouldn't necessarily be any murder charges. Preliminarily, what they discovered was there was nothing, no abuse or no trauma to the body that would suggest that it was some kind of homicide.
No chemicals? What was the tox report?
Yeah, that'll take a while to come back. So that's the thing we're waiting on to confirm the story of that. If something comes up weird or different in that, then the investigation would take a different turn.
I mean,
so the investigation's not closed or over. It's just kind of waiting on results from the autopsy stuff.
So there's no signs of trauma to the body, no strangulation, no bruising. She wasn't tied up.
No.
Did he show any remorse at all?
Yeah, according to investigators, he did. He did show remorse. Showed the confusion of what to do, scared.
Do you think maybe he didn't call police because he's here illegally?
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a possibility.
Well,
because he didn't want to be deported.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Like I said, if he did any kind of homework, he would know in Illinois that that unfortunately is not usually the case unless ICE does their own independent investigations on people, right? So it's not something like local police would do, right, because of the act. But again, I don't know what his fear was. He said he was in fear of going to jail forever. So I'm not sure, maybe not having knowledge of how the law works or the crimes that are in front of you, an overdose death, typically, if someone truly overdosed at your house and you had nothing to do with the drug portion of it, there would be no.
That's Good Samaritan laws. That's Good Samaritan. I actually helped pass that law, the Good Samaritan law.
Yeah, this is John Anthony, by the way. He's former police officer and former state.
Well, I actually think, Chief, did you ever teach at College of DuPage or PTI?
No, he did a training seminar for landlord stuff at DuPage before.
Okay, I think I probably was in one of your classes when I was an officer. But why destroy the phone? Have you guys looked on the phone to see if there's any pertinent information that could possibly relate to the case?
So the phone was thrown out initially 2 months ago, according to him. So there's virtually no way to recover that. And so, the only thing we could do is get phone records, which I believe Antioch has.
She was
try to see. So I would say he probably destroyed the phone, just thinking that they wouldn't be able to find her through her phone.
Yeah. Does she have cloud? I mean, did she have any cloud access where you can look through her computers? That maybe her phone was connected to the computer through cloud access or anything like that?
I'm not sure. I wasn't privy to that part of the investigation, but I know they did an extensive workup on that. So I'm sure if she had it, they have it.
Yeah.
Isn't this? I mean, I don't know how many years have you been in law enforcement?
40 years.
Me, 32.
Okay. Isn't this frustrating for you that somebody could hide a body in their basement and then put them in a garbage can and a blanket over it and is a free person? Or can you not?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we would definitely, if it were up to us, we would have asked for him to be held at least to the first or second court date to see, what's going on, where we're at. Also to get some of the stuff back from the lab to determine if charges are going to be upgraded or not. So it would be nice, in a typical case like this, I think, we would have seek for him to be held, but because it's not detainable, it wasn't an option for us.
Hey, Chief, I'm curious, where was the state's attorney on? What was the state's attorney's position on this?
They just follow what the guidelines are, I didn't get his personal thoughts. I would know that, again, I'm sure they're just as disgusted by this as everybody else. Unfortunately, based on what the state legislator's done, that they have to abide by it themselves. So, I wouldn't want to speak for them, but I'm sure they're probably just as frustrated.
Well, Chief, your reputation precedes you. I just want to. I think I really do want to let people know. You've been. I know who you are. You've been one hell of an officer, and I hear a lot of great things about your leadership. So please continue to do what you're doing, and protect those guys that are serving in Waukegan.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, ICE, before we were a sanctuary state, what was your relationship with them, and what was the protocol?
Well, at one point years ago, we were actually deputized through the federal system, and we did the, I don't know if you remember, the 287G, I believe it was called. And, we had an active role in that. And that's going back probably 10, 15 years. So we would help them in instances where, if they wanted to go pick up a violent offender. When I was in the gang unit, we would go out with ICE agents and pick up violent offenders and do deportation and detainers. I think our department would hold people on detainers until they could bring them to court. So we did have an active role, but again, that was quite a while ago.
Chief, that's how I know you, the no-knock warrant guy, the gang officer who used to come down and teach. What's his name? Is he still working? He was a detective, I believe, that worked in Waukegan. Who?
Capilouti?
Yes, Capilouti. Is he still working, or is he retired?
He retired, yeah. He's still teaching his class, though. He has the gang combat dynamics class.
Yes, love that guy.
Yep.
Sorry, I just.
Oh, no,
just
that's okay. All right, well, we'll stay on top of this. I just, I mean,
one more
I have a foster son who did not get out because of the Safety Act. He had a bond, and then the Safety Act went in place, and they denied him. And this guy holds a woman in his basement for 3 days, and then allegedly puts her in a garbage can in the backyard. Well, he confessed to it. I mean, this is clown world that we're living in. And I am I feel physically ill that he is a free man. And he's probably thinking in his head, like, America's the best place in the world. That's conjecture on my part. But
Chief, what's the likelihood of a conviction in this case?
Well, I think it's 100%. I mean, he confessed on video. He admitted to everything he did. All the evidence supports what he did. I think there should be no reason he'd be convicted in the crimes that are in front of him.
But
how much jail
he's going to spend time in jail, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting. But I'm just
how much jail time you think he's going to get? Sentencing.
Well, they're all class 4 felonies. I believe they're all probationable. It would be up to a judge, right? I mean, it depends if they give him a plea agreement, or if he goes to trial, then they would have a sentencing hearing. You could bring in the family members at a sentencing hearing and implore the judge to, issue more time. So, ultimately the sentencing's up to the state's attorney's office and the judges. It starts with the state's attorney on a plea deal if it goes that route. And then if it goes to trial, then it becomes a judge's issue through a sentencing hearing. So I would hope that he would get the maximum sentence that he could based on the crime he committed.
What about Megan Boss, the victim? All we know is she was 37 years old and was reported missing by family members. Have they reacted at all to this?
Yeah, I mean, their family's devastated. It's obviously their loved one, and they had a close relationship from my understanding. Even though she would travel from different places, she was always in contact. She wouldn't go more than a few days without talking to her family. And so, I believe they had a real tight family connection. So they're definitely going to be devastated over this. I
mean, he put that family through hell because he was scared.
Yeah.
I don't care. I have zero remorse for that guy. So, all right, Chief, Deputy Chief, we're going to have to leave it there. Scott Chastain, any relation to Jessica Chastain?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll stay on top of this. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Men, are you over 40? Are you struggling with low energy? Low T Center's testosterone replacement therapy is the solution. Hey, it's Dan Proft. I want to get you started today. Visit one of Low T Center's conveniently located clinics and get back to feeling your best. This April only, your consultation is free. Treatment is tailor-made just for you, and it's covered by most major insurance. Get treated at one of their centers or from home. Why wait? Book your appointment now at lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Proft sent you when you do. That's lowtcenter.com.